Good evening, everybody, and welcome back for another week of League of Europe action. We're in Division 5. I am once again Killer Blue 295, and joining me once again for this round 3 of Season 7 at Portugal is the ever delightful QVR Packer. Packer, how are you?
I'm doing very well on this Saturday evening, getting ready for some League of Europe Division 5 action, but I'm sure no one could be quite as excited, maybe besides Lewis, other than yourself. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm in a very good mood. You may have not seen if you've not watched D1. I don't want to spoil anything, but I came second, so it must have been a crazy race. So I'm in a very good mood, thank you. But turning our attention to Division 5 as our driver's readying up now, we will have a whiz through the D5 standings for Season 7 after 2 rounds so far. NL Energetics in the Red Bull, the Dutchman, he leads the championship with 51 points out of a possible 52, almost a perfect score for him. Victory and fastest lap last week from second on the grid. He took 26 points there, and such is the measure of his dominance so far in Season 7. Energetics has a 25-point lead, so he could crash out today and he's effectively got a full win in his pocket. The only way the man in second place, Slumpcon in the Haas, could overtake him this week is if he does what Energetics did last week, Energetics DNF. So already quite ominous signs at the top there. Energetics with a full race in hand after just 2. Is in third, he's on 25 points. Marcy is in fourth for Mercedes, he's on 20. 1 podium each for those 3 guys. And then Jav is in fifth, 18 points for him. Now Jav, very heartbreakingly, lost the win last week. It was a certain win with a penalty on the last lap. He finished fourth on track. That penalty meant he ended up finishing fourth overall as well. Before that, he was on course for victory. Also on 18 points is ERS Major. He was second last week, but he's only attended 1 race so far, so he's in good form. Swip is on 15. Alex Liart is on 12. Axel's on 8. He didn't finish last week. Ben Scott, someone who's threatened tremendously so far this season in the races with ominous qualifying performances, but somehow has only racked up 6 points from 2 races. Also has 6 is Jamie Met in the McLaren, 6 for Joseph, and then Harry F, the other Alpine. He's in 13th at the moment with 4 points. And again, another driver. Both Alpines have promised a lot this season and under-delivered. Are you feeling, Packer, that we're going to head the same way, that we're going to see dominance from the 2 Alpines in qualifying, and once again they're first out this week, and then maybe someone else to step it up during the race? Or do you think this is the week the Alpines can finally come good?
It's going to be difficult to say once again, just like France and Imola as well. But Portugal, a little bit of a different step in terms of the driving style that you would want to be taking to Imola. And was that? I'm not sure if you were watching on board with Ben Scott, but I think he just cut the hairpin. I'm not entirely sure because I was in my party menu, but.
I did not see. I was on board with Harry, as he's the first one out.
Might just be my eyes leaving me, but I just sworn to just cut the hairpin. Anyways, yeah. Once again, Portugal, another a different step in terms of the setup that you would want to be taking and the driving style that you'd want to be taking as well. Pad ABS is a little bit more favorable to wheel here than other 2 circuits.
Yeah, it is, and there's a lot of really wide, long radius courses. Very different to what we saw at Imola in round 1 particularly. It's a very different style of track, so maybe we might see a different style of winner. Harry F is going to be the first man to start a lap here. It's a very, very long pit straight towards turn 1. You are going to run out of airs at the end of this lap if you don't save it during the lap. He flicks it in nicely. 6th gear, turn 2 you can ignore, and then here comes turn 3. Turn it in nicely, get the car pointed straight up. Goes a little deep on the exit, and that compromises significantly his turn 4, but he keeps it in bounds. No invalidation there for him. And now the tricky downhill hairpin of turn 5. Easy to go a little bit deep there with the downhill braking zone. You can use the curb on the exit. It settles the car down nicely. And then turn 6, again, you can ignore. Flick it into 7. Sometimes you might want to use 6. He takes a bit too much curb there. And then the devilishly awful turn 8. But again, nicely done from Harry. Doesn't unsettle that car. Doesn't let the car bottom out. And is on his way uphill now for 10 and 11. You want to take a really high, wide line in so you can drop the car down quickly, get the straightest exit possible, flick it through 12. Again, another non-corner for these cars. And then turn 13, get the nose turned in nice and early so you can straighten the car up, bring it to the left-hand side to open up the final 2 corners. Turn 14 seems to go on for absolutely ages. Doesn't use all the track on the outside, and then the track just cascades down away from you down and then back up over this little crest. He has used all his hers. He didn't save throughout his lap, and that is going to cost him probably a tenth, or maybe a little bit less. And he sets a 17.4. Ben Scott a tenth and a half behind on a 17.6. They're our first two men to set lap times today, and I dare say I don't think they're going to be the quickest of the session. I was predicting pole early today, Packer, around a 17.1, 17.0, so we'll see how that comes out. But we've got a Red Bull off at turn 1.
Yeah, we've had both Red Bulls off now in this session so far. SBS Bobby at turn 1 through 2 around that area, and also Energetics just a little bit earlier before the Alpines crossed the line off at turn 4 on those medium tires. So our two-time race winner out of 2 races so far, having a few issues at the beginning qualifying, but there are still 14 minutes left, and I'm sure he can get his session well underway.
Yep, so there's still plenty of time for everyone to get laps in. Jess now pops in her first lap. That's an 18.886. And we've got a Williams across the line as well. That is Ghost Recon. He's just starting a lap. He's on mediums. Quite a few drivers on mediums so far. Swip and Major have both set times on the mediums. Major's 17.9 on mediums. It's actually a very tasty looking lap time. We'll see how people evolve. Energetics, our championship leader, 35.4. So as you said, both Red Bulls have had some misadventures today. Our championship leader, some 16 seconds off the pace so far. As Bellon pops in a 19.6.4. We've got a few drivers who haven't even gone out of the pits yet. Emperor not out of the pits. Marcy's not gone out of the pits. He's now coming into them for an invalid medium run. Jab hasn't gone out yet, nor has Alex Lilliart. So a few drivers content to sit and wait in this session. And I'm purely being speculative here, Packet, but we've got, of our 9 times so far, 4 are on mediums, and we've got 10 drivers who haven't set laps yet. Do you think there could be some rain coming during the race that's making people stay off setting competitive lap times on the softs? We saw rain in D1. There was rain in D3 as well in 2 separate parts of the race. So do you think there could be some rain coming that's putting people off setting these quick lap times?
I have no idea how accurate this is, but a Rogue Ghost in the chat says it looks like we have rain in the race. So possibly you could be correct there. Jamie Met just went up to P5 there on the soft tires, 17.9, only a few. A tenth of a second separating Jamie and ERS Major there. Energetic, second lap on the medium tires, goes up to P6, an 18.1 second of everybody on the mediums, 2/10 behind the other medium runner in ERS Major there. There's a Mercedes coming through the final sector. That's going to be Sir Ibo. I'd imagine he's on an in-lap because he is invalid. But also, we have to remember Joseph, who was last week technically on pole position, but got disqualified later on in qualifying. Went on to have a pretty decent result, if I am to remember correctly, currently P3.
He had a very decent result until the last 3 laps when the rain came out, and he, as the leader, was forced to stay out. We had a mad last few laps last week, didn't we? Bobby goes in with an 18.3. Yeah, the race completely turned on its head last week in the last few laps. I think Joseph did stay out as the leader. He couldn't really have done anything else, and then everyone behind him came into the pits, and you thought he was going to hang on. I thought I wasn't too sure, and then in the end he got past on the last lap, didn't he? And Energetics, looking like he wasn't going to finish on the podium at one point, suddenly had the win in his hands. And his teammates not doing a too bad job either. Said Bobby into 7th. Who else is on laps right now? Let's have a look. Slumpcon did a slow first lap. He did a 24.2. He's now improving. And Axel's just popped in a 17.5 there. He split the 2 Alpines up front. And Axel was very quick in qualifying last week. I think he was our pole sitter at France last week.
He was.
If I'm not mistaken, just behind Joseph on the times. We said this last week, didn't we? Pole position is a bit of a curse so far this season. It was for Ben Scott in Imola, and then so it was for Axel last week, who didn't finish in Paul Ricard. So I'm sure Harry will be hoping that someone can beat him. Which is on board with Slumpcon right now, second place man in the championship. He's said hasn't done a quick lap, but I think this one is going to be a significant improvement. Just turned 14 and 15 to go. Lets the car roll to the outside, turn 14, and then you want to swing it back in, take as much of the inside as you can to shorten your distance to the line, and stick to that right hand side if you want to, I suppose. But an 18.4 for Slumpcon, by far not at all the quickest lap we've seen on medium so far, but still very respectable from the Haas man.
Yeah, third fastest lap out of the mediums, only a tenth in front of Swip, who's P10, who's out on soft tires right now, out on tractors, heading through turn 1 on his second flying lap of the session. There's a McLaren who just crossed the line. That was Jess. Not sure if she improved, but she's onto an 18.886 now in P11. The first driver to get free choice of tires as of if qualifying were to end right now. As Williams into the pit lane, Joseph just coming to the line on an out lap, just starting that flying lap in a Red Bull as well. That's going to be Energetics heading to the pit lane. So Ferrari, I think it's going to be Riordan out on track for his first flying lap of the session on the mediums, still with only 9 minutes and 20 seconds left here in qualifying. Interesting decision to still be out on the medium tires, at least from my point of view, but currently P19 doesn't really have much to lose.
Nope, you may as well go for it to see where he ends up. ERS Major, sorry, is to switch topic, but ERS Major is just about to finish a very quick lap on the softs, I believe, and once again running out of ERS there, but he does a 17.0 and pops it on pole. The man who was second last week drove a sterling race in all sorts of battles and scraps. He goes on to pole, but we'll switch back onto Riordan's lap at 22.2 through the first sector. Not amazingly quick, but respectable enough. Swip now pops into second on a 17.476. 1/1000th quicker than Harry F, who's now just starting to lap, and Riordan has a big moment there. He clipped the curb through turn 7. Car wasn't willing to have it, and then he nearly tail stepped out on him through turn 8 as well. But let's have a look at Harry now in the Alpine. He's on for his second lap. Fresh set of softs for him, and in fact he's completely backed off, 3.9 seconds off through sector 1. And Ben Scott there again, turn 7, having a big moment as Joseph now hops onto pole position with a 16.9. The Alpines had it much their own way first 2 weeks of the season, not so much so this time around. Joseph on pole provisionally yet again. Let's hope he doesn't get disqualified this time.
Yeah, he'll have to look out for going backwards at turn 1. Not exactly where you want to be placing your car, especially at the end of qualifying, but the race did end up going his way. Both Alpines have backed off here. I'm not sure if they made mistakes or not, but it looks like Harry F and Ben Scott getting into formation once again here in qualifying. Swip just coming up behind them as well. He's on an in-lap after completing that 17.476 to go just in front of Harry, as you commented on. One of the Alpha Towers just heading to the pit lane. That's ERS Major as well in P2. Front row of the grid currently for ERS Major, qualified third last week in France, only just under a tenth of a second off of what was pole position in Axel, who is currently P5. So it's looking pretty good, and it seems now into the third round of the championship with Ben Scott on a lap. It seems we have some of our championship protagonists here.
Yeah, we've got I'd say the top 6, and that doesn't even include energetics. We've got the top 6 all very much, I'd say, in some kind of championship fight, potentially, if they get a string of races going their way. And then the man they're all chasing is currently behind them all in P8. And Slumpcon, the man in P2 in the championship, is down in P10. Lots of drivers have shown flashes of really strong promise. Joseph last week should have won, finished 7th. Harry and Ben Scott as well have shown a lot of pace. Major 2 after missing the first round. So there's a lot of there's some big claims to be made this week. I'm just on board with Ghost Recon, who's currently in 3rd in the championship. So actually the top 3 in the championship are currently 9th, 11th and 18th, which is the way we like it. We like to see a bit of topsy-turviness. Here we go. How's he going to approach turn 1? Little bit timid, but that's nicely done from Ghost Recon. Uses the curb just to its fullest and no more, because it can really unsettle the car. If you try and take too much to turn 1, it ruins your lap before it's even really begun. Now that little dash down towards turn 5, his first sector of 22.1. Not amazingly quick from Ghost Recon, considering he's on the soft. So I have to say, Ghost Recon's looked really good in the races, but he's not quite pulled the qualifying pace out of the bag yet this season. I feel like he's got a pole position in him, but so far he's... And we've seen the first 2 races as well, he retired with 1 run to go. It'll be interesting if he does the same today.
I think he might just miss his timestamp here, considering the lap that he's on right now, and then having to do an in-lap, but ooh, that's a little bit of a slide there, heading back up the hill through that final sector, through turn 12, up through turn 13, and back down the hill as you wind your way through turn 14. Yeah, we saw the same thing in preseason as well. Obviously not the greatest of representations heading into the new season at the time, but Ghost Recon qualified at the back and ended up on the podium that weekend, so maybe qualifying at the back, the ult strategy working to his favor, but putting himself up into P3 is 17.364. That's definitely a competitive lap time there from the American.
Yeah, he's had a knack of doing this, really stretching his legs in the races and keeping his car as close to his chest in qualifying. If I can avoid using any more cliches, that would be great. ERS Mage is going for another lap, so he's going for his final lap of the session now, and it's a really nice first few corners for him. I think it's going to be the first, potentially, of our title contenders. I use that term very, very loosely at this point in the season, to set his final lap, and he's he's over a tenth of a second up through Sector 1. Really nicely done from ERS Major, and I think this is a man who can very much win 3 or 4, 5 races this season if things go his way. He showed really strong promise last week, and again this week on the medium tyre. That first lap I thought was quite ominous, and so it is that he's now the only man within 4/10 of a second of Joseph, as it is with Recon and Swip and Harry some way adrift. And again, now quarter of a second up for Major through the middle sector. So he's just got to get these last 2 corners absolutely spot on, and then he's fine. Turn 15, you can absolutely ignore it. There's no threat there unless you're in the rain. We'll see. That's nicely done. He's not too greedy. It's easy when you see that green delta to kind of snatch at the throttle a little bit, mess your lap up. He's going to run out of ERS. He's not making any effort to manage. I don't think any of these guys are particularly. And it's a 16.8, so he does improve again in the final sector and sneaks ahead of Joseph by, well, 1.4 tenths of a second, and then Ghost Recon half a second back. So a huge lead for ERS Major, at least in terms of taking his claim from the front row.
Yeah, ERS Major and Joseph seem to be the 2 hard hitters that we have here in Portugal for this weekend. So looking already pretty good for those 2. ERS Major though is not going to have another lap. Joseph just heading out for his final run now. No traffic to speak of really for the Ferrari man as he heads out of the pit lane and into turn 1. The 2 Alpines, I believe, are out on track and just started their final runs. Ben Scott leading Harry F as the formation of the Alpines has begun once again. Ben Scott validating there at turn 1, so not the greatest, but he still does have enough time to go again. There's a Haas and a Ferrari. That's Joseph and Slumpcon, I believe, unless it's Alex Lilliard actually, and I believe he is backed off. P19 yet to set a lap time, especially for some of these other drivers. Jav, Marcy, Emperor, and Alex Lilliard all yet to set lap times.
Jav apparently is walking his dog, so he won't be taking part in qualifying apparently. That's the reasoning on that front. I feel like Ted Kravitz running up and down the pit lane and getting like reasons for little stories. We got Harry though is going to be the next of the big hitters to finish his lap. He's a quarter of a second up as well, which would put him currently up into P3. He had 2 bites of that turn into turn 13. Just 14 or 15 to go. As you say, winds it round turn 14. You want to let the car roll a little bit towards the outside, use all the tracks and get on the throttle nice and early. And it looks like the Hasses in the background are trying to set up some kind of slipstream potentially. And here comes Harry now, dash to the line. And what's it going to be? It's a 17.2, so he does go ahead of Ghost Recon, but by 99 thousandths of a second. And there's what is this traffic jam that's happening in the last sector with the 2 Ferraris and Ben Scott as well? Very peculiar.
Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe the Ferrari's setting up slipstream for Joseph, but Joseph's only starting his lap. Riordan doesn't have his ERS on.
Bobby in the gravel at turn 8. That's claimed its first victim of the day. And it's taken him some time to get out of it. I think like he's not interested in completing a lap. So who have we got, Packer? Who's going to be the first to finish their lap? I think it's going to be Axel of everyone who's in the top 6, 7.
Yeah, there is the Red Bull that is Bobby though, and then one of the Alpines, but both Alpines I think are done as Axel just invalidating there down at turn 8. I think one of the Hasses might be on the lap, either Slumpcon or Alex Lilliard. I think it's going to be Slumpcon, the next driver to cross the line. 7/10 up in his lap time so far. That'd be, what, a 17.7 just about. So looking for a little bit more time in this final sector. Actually, this could be a really good lap for Slumpcon. Obviously second in the championship after 2 races so far this season. 30 seconds here left in qualifying. Few yellow flags there in the middle sector. Let's see what it's going to be for Slumpcon. It's a 17.6. I thought that was going to be a little bit quicker, but P8 for Slumpcon, still not too bad overall.
Not too bad at all for Slumpcon, actually. And Ben Scott and Ghost Recon's retired Harry has come into the pit, so the 2 Alpines out of it. Joseph's invalid. Swip is not going to improve. Axel said it's invalid. Jav did come out to set one lap, and he's put himself into P9 with no warm-up at all. Not a bad effort from Jav to put himself in P9. Energetics only 10th now, the championship lead. He's going to have to start on those tyres as well. Reardon comes into the pits in 11th. Can anyone save Energetics from starting the race on those soft tyres? Jamie and Jess are just finishing laps, and Jamie looks like he could be on a good one. I think he's improving. He's just got the last corner to go. Just let it drop down the hill away from him. Stay to the right-hand side for the shortest run. Does he do that? He's going to run out of hers. Actually, no, he's not going to run out of hers. He saved his hers, as Jamie. Tactically done. Very astute. He goes P11 and misses out on Energetics by 3 thousandths.
Is it
3,000?
Oh.
3 thousandths, Packer. Need to sort your maths out there.
I think Codemasters just screwed me over here.
No, I've got 926 and then 929. I'm looking at interval, not times. Where's Bobby going to go?
Oh.
Bobby goes 8. Bobby saves his teammate within a 17.658. He nips head of Slumpcon by 2 1,000ths, and that does dump Energetics out of the top 10. I wonder if he'll be happy with that, or if he'll be secretly very disappointed and angry that he's ended up a second off pole position.
I'm not entirely sure for that one, but I think Energetics with a good race strategy here could definitely jump up to the front. I saw in France, good strategy as well as just survivability. It was able to bring him a win and fastest lap, and Imola as well. I believe he was on the alt strat there, or I think he qualified on the mediums in Imola and was able to get up to the top of the standings and win that race as well. So Energetics has a little bit of flexibility in the strategy here. The most popular strategy that most people should be doing, I would imagine, soft medium around lap 10-ish if you're starting on the soft, and the medium soft around lap 20 if you're starting on the medium tires. So not as many options as France, but both strategies are pretty decent.
Yep. So we will. We'll just run through the full result then. ERS Major takes pole position with a 16.829, a tenth and a half quicker than Joseph, 16.9. And then Harry Ghost Recon is in fourth, Swibber's in fifth, Axel's in sixth, Ben Scott seventh, SBS Bobby in his debut is in P8 in the Red Bull. Slumpcon, the first of the top three in the championship, he's in P9. Sorry, Ghost Recon's in fourth. Ignore me. Jav is in 10th with the Welsh flag for some reason. Energetics is 11th. Jamie is 12th. Reardon 13th, Jess 14th, Bell 15th, Ibo 16th, Axel 17th, Marcy 18th, and Emperor 19th. You'll forgive my slightly dazed demeanour there, because I asked the D5 guys for their one-line reactions to qualifying, just so we have a little something to go through in the formation lap. And Alex Liart says, I formally hand in my bleep notice for racing this track, pure unadulterated AIDS. Well, at least it's over after this week, and probably won't be back on F1 2022. Ben Scott says a word I can't say live on stream, but it means poo. Joseph said his qualifying was okay, and if he's in second and he's saying it was okay, then that's an ominous warning for everybody else. Reardon's hoping for rain. Jess Gamer says she was very happy with her lap. Bobby says we take it. Swip says unfortunate karma. Ben Scott disconnected when he was improving. ERS Major very happy. Axel says good for Joseph and Major. Joseph says he bottled his last lap, which is a shame. And Alex Liart is very much expecting to get lapped, apparently. So some interesting takes there from our qualifiers on how they're going to go. How did you rate qualifying, Packer?
Qualifying was all right overall. Missed the big laps that we've had in the past few weeks right at the end of the session, and the drama from last week as well. I don't think we could really top it. The driver on pole position getting disqualified, but Portugal once again, a few of the top. The guys who've been good in qualifying so far this season up at the top once again, and then a few of our once again, loose terms, championship contenders, top three in the championship, spread out pretty evenly around the grid.
Spread out, and I think they're in reverse championship order as well, which is always exciting. Energetics is going to have that sort of extra element starting in P11, and if there is some rain around, could we see a repeat of D1 where it's a case of who's able to take these tyres to the rain? because we saw that QVR Campbell was able to pull 18 laps plus qualifying out of his softs by ramping up the tyre pressures and just driving super, super cautiously. So if there are any D5 drivers listening, increased tyre pressures means better tyre wear, even if they do overheat. So there is a compromise to be there. There's very much a trade-off here, because it's a track where your tyres do overheat, particularly through those punishing last couple of corners, turns 14 and 15. But if you're willing to take that pain, you can make the tyres last a lot longer and give yourself more strategy options by upping the tyre pressures. Speaking of tyres, let's have a look how everyone went. And everyone top 10 on softs, top 11 to 19th, all mediums, barring Alex Lear on the hards. And if he was worrying he was going to get lapped, putting the hards on is just going to get him lapped even quicker, I think. And Energetic's disqualified, so he's going to have some very frosty tyres.
Yeah, mirroring D1, here is Alex Olliart, mirroring a certain Cantera in the Haas on the hard compounded tires. So hopefully Alex Olliart's race goes a little bit better than Cantera's. So I'm hoping for the best for Alex there. But yeah, looking to the tires, honestly, not really surprised. Top 10, forced onto the soft tires. Jav getting unlucky enough to be P10 after missing out on that race win last week with that time penalty. But outside the top 10, as you mentioned, everybody on mediums, no surprise at all there, strategy-wise.
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much gone the way you might expect them to. If there is some rain hanging around that's waiting to come and strike these drivers. Ben Scott back in the session, but he's disconnected a couple of times already. That does not bode well for the rest of his race. Axel is now disqualified. Bobby disqualified as well, so both Red Bulls can have very cold tyres for the start of this race. Ben Scott's a bit unfortunate. He was top 2 in qualifying the first 2 races, and now he's found himself down in P7, but maybe his luck might reverse. Poor qualifying might breed success in the race. It's going to be Major and Joseph on the front row. Joseph there for the second week in a row. Harry in a good position as well. I think Swip, this might be his best qualifying this season in P5. And I'm interested to see what Jav can do from 10th, given how quick he was last week, and also the fact he didn't really have any time to do a banker lap in qualifying. That was his one and only effort, and he managed to get ahead of Energetic, so he's very finely poised. But Packer, where's your money?
For this week, I'm going to go with Joseph for the win. I'm going to say Energetics has a good race on the alternate strategy, because medium to possibly Inter could be the best strategy available depending on when the rain comes. That is Energetics for P2, and then let's say Ben Scott has a turnaround from the last 2 weeks and goes P3.
I'm very happy to back you on that, and Ben Scott is back in the lobby. Hopefully he gets into his car once the lights go out, so we don't have any need for a restart. Otherwise, it looks like we are going to get going. So there we go. We've got Major on your right, Joseph on your left, Harry and Ghost Recon tucked in behind them. Round 3 of the season is underway, and I think Major got a better start there. A lot of wheel spin for Joseph, and Harry straight through into P2 and in the lead, and Axel's going to get up the inside as well. And is that a glitch in there between the Williams? The Axel nearly looked like he slammed into the back of Harry and then glitched his way back down the track, but it's Major who leads. We've got a yellow flag in the background. Swips off the road at turn 3. Reardon's round at the back. We've got Reardon's out at turn 3. Actually, we'll pop the data on now. We're through sector 1. We've got a Red Bull that's very wide in the background. Energetics is down to 12th. Not a good start for him. The 2 Williams tussling there into turn 5. Swip got very out of shape on the exit turn 5 as well, and now they're 3 wide. He's lost out to Slumpcom, and he's lost out to Ben Scott as well, and he's still going to have a look at him and slams into the back of Ben Scott at turn 7. Ill-advised place to try and take a lunge on a driver, and he's going to lose out to his teammate now, and everybody else as he slides down the field. The 2 Alfa Romeos a little out of shape as well there at turn 8. There's a Mercedes. That's Marcy getting very tasty and battling with Bellon as they pass the stricken Aston Martin of Swip, who's now already down to 16th place. But at the end of, as we approach the end of lap 1, Major has navigated that nicely. He's got a 4/10 of a second lead from Harry, and then Joseph, who's lost place. Harry and Joseph swapping places. Ghost Recon in 4th and Slumpcon up to 6th. But Energetics, the championship leader, has lost 2 places, and Swip has lost a front wing.
Yeah, not exactly ideal for the two Aston Martins. They're Jav keeping position so far in this race, P10 on those soft tires, so going pretty well. But I'm sure he'll be wanting to make his way past Jamie before the pit stops do come into play in a few laps' time. ERS Major able to keep it out in the front of the race, just in front of Harry F. There a little bit of a mistake there heading through turn 4. Harry F. already on his ERS button. ERS Major leading with 70%. Harry down to 50-55, and Joseph Ghost Recon all on decent amounts of ERS. Obviously only lap 2, but that ERS can drain quite quickly if you do like to use your ERS. Energetics, oh, that compounds his issues there. Going side by side with Alex Williard, who's had a fantastic start on these hard tires, I must say. Just in behind is the Haas, and Energetics picking up that 3-second time penalty. That battle getting a little bit frosty for P11. The final 2 points positions here in League of Europe is that battle on track at least. But ERS Major up at the front of the race as we have a yellow flag. That's Ibo, I believe. But yeah, ERS Major up at the front of the field. Unlike Ibo, was able to keep it on track so far.
Yeah, it's been a very good start, and Bobby has really caused a split in the field already. And Marcy has a big moment there. We're on board with Marcy following Alex Leah. He said he had a good start on the hards, but I think he's now going to take the pain of those tyres as the race strings out and settles down a little bit. Marcy wasn't able to get past where Energetics was, but very, very costly penalty there for Energetics. And we're going to look at Slumpcon and Axel. And Slumpcon nips through. Axel was off the track there, and Ben Scott's just having a look at these two, begging for an opportunity to open up. And Axel has a big moment on traction out of turn 3. That gives Ben Scott a bit of an incentive through to 4. Ben Scott having to lift off. Bobby's made some kind of mistake at turn 3. Ben Scott's not able to get past Axel, though, and we'll have a look down now at what has happened to Bobby. Actually, no, we're not, because Marcy is passing Alex Lilliart into turn 5. Lilliart is going to fight him back, but the hard tyres have got no purchase there, and he's able to get through. Is Marcy as Energetics ahead has now continued his comeback. He's really pushing Jamie as we now head through turn 8. A lot happening on this lap. Oh, and Energetics hits the back of Jamie. Has that given the Red Bull some damage? I dare say if it has, that could be an early warning sign that his race is not. This is not going to be a good week for him, and he has dropped back a little bit from Jamie this lap. We'll see. Just keep an eye on that gap and see how it evolves. But they are the kind of mistakes, Packer. You know, you've been in a couple of title fights the last 2 seasons. You can't make those kind of mistakes when you're chasing one, even this early in the season.
Yeah, made that mistake in Bahrain and USA last season, so not exactly ideal going into the back of someone.
Bobby's off track. Bobby's and nearly collected Jess there, and then has spun. Those tyres are very hot. But sorry, you were saying.
Harry was getting close to ERS Major going into turn 1 there. Looked up the inside, but ended up backing out of it before they got to the braking zone there. So Harry off will stay in P2 for the time being. Joseph, Ghost Recon all looking pretty comfortable. Ghost Recon at a little bit of a elongated gap from compared to the top 3, but just trying to stay out of the dirty air, I would imagine, but also trying to keep that DRS. Just getting a little comfortable on these soft tires. They do have to go a few more laps on this compound. 30% ERS though for Ghost Recon, struggling just a little bit, it seems. But the one big gap from the top 4 is Slumpcon. 1.8 seconds for the driver second in the championship. Alex Lilliard's jab, I think, has gone around there at turn 8.
Jav has spun it, and Energetics has snipped through on Jamie. And in fact, Marcy's going to try to do the same into turn 11. That's a cheeky little move from the Mercedes, but he's through, and Marcy is just following Energetics through right now. Marcy, who won in pre-season, Energetics, who won in week 1 and week 2, our 2 winners, this season so far, are making steady progress through the field. But there's been a couple of mistakes. I think Jav's lack of laps in qualifying there, showing there with his mistake at turn 8, but an easy mistake to make. It's one of the most awful corners on the calendar. And I'll tell you what, our top 4, we switch to gap to leader, our top 4 are covered by 1.4 seconds at the end of lap 4. And I think Joseph has got the upper hand on all of them. He looks really racy, really confident. He's so much closer to Harry than Harry is to Major. I think Joseph, if he hadn't lost that place on the first lap, he could be past Major by now. He just looks a little happy, a little more settled in his car than Harry does, and Major and Ghost Recon as well.
Yeah, going back to last week, just looking at the ERS percentages for all the top four, as Axel picked up a 3-second time penalty. 4 drivers with penalties now throughout the field, being Axel, Energetics, Emperor, and Alex Lilliard. But back to the top 4, 45% just about for ERS, Major on ERS, 20% for Harry Joseph on 54, the most out of the top 4, and Ghost Recon just dipping above 30% as they head into turn 14 there. So Joseph, as you mentioned, looking the most comfortable, is sitting pretty, I would say, here for the Ferrari driver. P3 right now. It's going to be difficult to get past Harry now that the DRS has been activated, but I'm sure he's going to have a good opportunity sooner rather than later.
I think there's got to be a change of leadership at some point. If Major's hanging on to this for this long, then clearly he's in a very commanding position. Ben Scott's into the pits. That is early. He's going very aggressive, especially if there's rain coming.
Change.
Oh, front wing change. Okay, that explains how early it is. He goes to the mediums, and Ghost Recon, in the time I was looking away, Joseph spun it at turn 3. Ghost Recon's through, and then just as we flipped on board there, we caught a little reset to track from Joseph, which will incur the wrath of the stewards if reported. If not, he might just get away with it. He's down to P6 though. He's behind Axel. He's got 2 seconds in hand to Energetics, who is 10.8 seconds off the lead, and we're only on lap 6. That top 4 were having scintillating pace as swift as round at turn 1. But yes, the top 3, before as it was before Joseph lost it through turn 3, look very ominous, don't they? They're all streaking away together. None seems much quicker than any other at the moment. Ghost Recon happily sitting in Harry's DRS, Harry doing the same with Major. No one seems under threat, and they're all pulling away from Slumpcon, who is 4.2 seconds off the lead, and himself quite comfortable right now.
Yeah, if Ghost Recon has some good glasses there, he would have been able to see that Harry was derating as they headed to the end of the pit straight there. Just dipping below 10% was the Alpine driver, so the lowest on ERS out of all of the top 4. But Ghost Recon, who was out of DRS range after Joseph's spin there, was able to get back to 7/10 by the DRS detection point. So Ghost Recon showing a little bit of his pace, playing the cards out just a little bit there to get back within, but now he's going to be able to sit comfortable at that gap that he's been sitting at for the 7 laps now, just around 7/10. Harry about the same gap to ERS. Majors just closing up through turn 8 there, but yeah, it's looking really good for the Williams of Ghost Recon as Harry F as well. ERS Major doing pretty well up at the front as well, not losing ERS. You usually do in the clean air, but he's able to keep hold of that. He pulls away a little bit through the final sector here. Could ERS Major possibly break DRS to Harry F?
Well, if Harry has to stay in DRS, he's going to have to use all of his errs out of this turn 14. But I think Major's done it. I think he's broken. 1.1 Harry F's using, but he knows it's in vain, and he's settled to take P2 right now and to take the lack of the DRS. It's going to give Ghost Recon a big chance, because look at that. Harry F is derating all the way down straight. You can see how much Ghost Recon is gaining here all the way towards turn 1. It's going to set up a good opportunity into turn 4. Bit of a side for Harry, and Ghost Recon follows in sympathy, but has Major now got the incentive to run away and try and break the gap? Because if you'll have a look at the mini-map on the bottom right of your screen there, as Ghost Recon gets a penalty. The field is very spread out. We've got a couple of 2-car battles, but other than that, it's pretty strung out. I'm keeping an eye on that gap from Energetics to Major. Now 12 seconds, it was 10.5 or so. We've got some reaction in the Discord from SBS Bobby as to the explanation for his spin and his crash. It's because his mum was going to London and he had to say bye, and I have to say I'd rather say bye to my mother. So he's got some principles there, Bobby. We respect it. And we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. That is Bellon, one of our Swiss Alfa Romeo drivers. Had a big moment at turn 4. So it is hard, Packer, to pick something out of this right now. The only thing I am going to pick out of it is that it's getting quite dark. And all I can say is... Oh, we've got a throw around. Joseph around again.
Ooh, that's really unfortunate there for Joseph. Just up at the top of the hill there, turn 14, turn 50, and around in the third sector is Harry F. from second place is into the pit lane. I was just about to say it's getting a little bit darker before you took the words right out of my mouth. But Harry F. in on lap, what is going to be the end of lap 8, on going on to lap 9, especially with it getting darker. The switch to the medium tires here, an interesting decision for Harry F., but this could be the right strategy. We just don't really know how the weather is going to play out here as Marcy picks up a 3-second time penalty down in, well, not down, in P6, right behind Energetics. 2.3 seconds is the gap between them. Ben Scott, 2 fastest laps in a row for the Alpine driver after making that early pit stop for a front wing change, up to P13 now, 3.5 seconds behind Jess Gamer. So Ben Scott coming back into this race very slightly. He's going to need a safety car, though, if he wants to get any higher, I think.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking on board with Harry F. He's passing Alex Liliark. We've got a rare overtake on track, and he goes very deep there. And, well, Emperor must have made some kind of mistake as well, because he wasn't able to capitalise. Jav back through into P10, back where he started. But, yeah, looking at that mini-map, it's a dire state of affairs, isn't it? How spread out this field is. I've got the intervals up right now. As Jav now lets Emperor back through. I wonder if there was some kind of 5-second penalty for overtaking on the yellow flag this morning. It didn't look like Jav made a mistake. Joseph passes Bell on. And yeah, all the top 3 are in. Is that going to be for mediums? Is it going to be for hards? Is it going to be for another set of softs if there's some rain coming? I think it's mediums. It's mediums all round for Recon Major and SlumpCon, who's now in as well. So where's Major going to come out in relation to Harry F? This is the big question. How close is Harry F going to get? He's done a purple sector 3. He's going to be behind them, but he's in touching distance. He's in touching distance. Jav's retired in the pit lane.
It looked like he had a few issues. I'm not entirely sure, but he did seem to be struggling when I was watching on board with him.
Penalty for Major.
You know, there are quite a few penalties throughout the field right now. Obviously, a few people have made pit stops. Some people still out on the tires they started on. But Axel, Energetics, Marcy, all 3 seconds. Then Jamie with none. Alex with Williard, ERS Major, Ghost Recon, all with 3, as well as Emperor Rub. I think Ben Scott just making his way past Jess Gamer. Caught up that gap to the McLaren driver quite quickly. Another fastest lap for Ben Scott, a 19.8. So really flying here as the Alpine driver, just showing what could have been for his race. But that front wing change really has not helped him.
It absolutely hasn't, and once again he's having another race where just things are not going for him. I mean, he was only 7th in qualifying, it wasn't awful, but still his race is going a little bit bad to worse. He just needs a break, as Ben Scott in the races. He needs something to go his way, because it's just not happened in any of the first 3 races this season. And Axel Couriers, 7, joins our leaders in coming into the pit, so he's going to bail on those softs as well, but he's going soft. Aggressive from Axel, and we'll see where he sneaks out of this one. And in fact, actually, we'll jump ahead, because look at this. Ghost Recon and Harry very close together. Major's still kept his DRS advantage, but Harry F really close to Ghost Recon, but he has a slidey exit out of turn 3 through 4, and that's going to compromise him for any chance of a move into turn 5. But Ghost Recon has cut adrift from that AlphaTauri, so there's a chance here for Harry F in a lap or 2 to make a move through into P2, because this is really our main battle on track right now. Emperor, Ben Scott and Axel are in close company as well, and Emperor goes a little bit deep into turn 4, and I think Ben Scott's just going to sneak that and take that away on the exit. He says, thank you very much, Emperor. It was only a little bit deep, but it was enough for Ben Scott to sneak through up into P10, and, well, I think that straightens the field out. I think we've just got the Harry F Ghost Recon battle now ahead of us.
Yeah, drivers yet to pit in this race. Obviously, lap 11, yellow flag. That's Bellon, I believe, who's gone around at turn 8, just in front of Sir Ibo, though. But Sir Ibo, Bell and Ibo, 2 drivers still yet to pit on the medium tires. Started on that on the tire that they are in currently. Jess and Emperor, as well as Ghost Recons. That's fastest lap of the race in P6, trying to chase down ERS Major. Only gained a 1/10 of a second, but Alex Liliard, ERS Major getting really slidey there through turn 1 with the Haas. all over his gearbox there. I think just a little bit of DRS helping out ERS Major after Ghost Recon. Fastest lap there. But Energetics, Marcy, Jamie, all on 11 lap old medium tires, then Alex Illiar on 11 lap old hard tires. So Alex is not going to have to pit here for a long time, I wouldn't think. But those medium tires are going to have about 10 more laps before the softs would become ideal. But it's getting dark, but it's not, doesn't seem to be raining anytime soon from here. Well, from here at least, still quite a long way to go. Around 5 or 6 laps until we get to halfway distance. So still a long way to go in this race, and the net leaders, have already made their pit stops.
Well, in D1, didn't we? We saw the rain around lap 15, so I mean, there's no reason for it to be around the same here. But that would put the drivers in a tricky spot as to whether they pit or stay out, particularly with D5 skewing towards more two-stop strategies. So I think we might see the rain maybe around lap 20 onwards as Joseph gets past Emperor, and I think we're going to see Ghost Recon here past Alex Illiar, whose hards, I think it's generous to say they're not working for him. I think you could use more stronger terms there to describe the state of those hards and how they've affected his race. And his fact is Harry F can have a look into turn 3, he doesn't, but Alex goes very deep, and he's going to have to take a very tight line, pinched up against the apex of turn 4, and that's going to give Harry F all he needs to nip through into P6, and he follows Ghost Recon through just a couple of corners later. Move nicely done. Joseph gets a penalty in the back in P11. So after his shenanigans, let's have a look at penalties. Energetics 3, Marcy 3, in fact Major Recon, Alex, Axel, Joseph, everyone 3 who's got one so far, apart from Emperor. But I think we will see most drivers with penalties by the end of this race. I dare say. I think I've seen a lot just by watching the race. I think I've seen a couple of warnings flying in, drivers just running wide, particularly turn 11 has had a couple of culprits, turn 4 as well, and turn 1 of course. So I think we'll see a lot of penalties to come. But Packer, let's work on the assumption the rain comes around lap 20. Knowing that all the soft runners are gonna, or do you think any medium runners would pit? I won't say what would you do, because I think if you're on mediums you would stay out. But if you D5 with a tendency for 2 stops, what would you do? With the D5 zone, D5 head on.
Oh my gosh! I almost broke my foot on my pedals. Anyways, it's difficult to say because right now, I think Marcy and Energetics have the 2 drivers with the best shot to, profit off of being on the alternate strategy, the medium to soft or medium to inter. However, this race is going to swing. I think Energetics has the best shot, so just hope for it to rain now, really, I would say. Anytime from now until about lap 22, 23. But if it gets to maybe lap 20, I want to say like lap 25, and it's not raining hard enough, I think I would go for softs.
I mean, when I pitted, I think it was lap 22, 23 in D1. My mediums were pushing 65%, so 10% more, and they're very much in puncture range. So I think there's a risk reward thing to be had. I mean, we saw QVR Campbell set out on softs that were on 83% in Division 1, and in fact, Marcy and Major's about to get past Marcy here for P2. And both of them very, very low in the air stakes, but Major winning in the tyre stakes and now in the position stakes. He's through into P2. Marcy just hanging it out there, a bit like Energetic, like Jamie, for something to happen. Alex Illiar as well also hasn't pitted. If Energetic were to pit now, he'd come out around P10, slump congress penalty. P10 or P11, around about Joseph, or in that gap between Joseph and Ben Scott, he'd just slot in there. So the difference between the rain coming at the right time and the wrong time for Energetics is huge. If it comes at the right time, he's P1. If it comes at the wrong time, he's P10. So he really will be praying right now, won't he?
Yeah, Energetics is going to have to pray for either a safety car to help as picks up 3-second time penalty down in P14. Yeah, he's going to have to pray for something really to help him here, because no sign of the rain quite yet. It's just started raining.
Well, Energetics is, I don't want to say he's lucky, but he is very, very lucky, because he's just been handed here a third win in a row. Potentially. We saw in D1 how long it took for the track to get wet. If it's a similar situation here, Marcy's coming in.
Ooh, that's early.
Marcy's had enough. He's coming straight in, and he's going on the inters. He is going on the inters. Marcy was very much on for P3. I don't think he'll get top 10 anymore, frankly. Those we'll keep gap to leader on so we can see Marcy's plight, but yes, he should not have done that, I think.
Yeah, looking just a little bit like Dylan on that one, I would say. That's probably the best embodiment of the McLaren driver. You could get there already running wide.
Axel on slump very deep into turn 5. Slump left the door half ajar. Axel sent it, didn't quite make it, and Ben Scott very nearly capitalising on a bit of a collision there. Three-way battle going on through turn 7 and 8, and as the rain starts to come, it's going to be a confidence thing of who... Oh, no! Ben Scott smacks the back of Axel, and that could be a second front wing change for the Alpine man. Once again, in the race, not going Ben Scott's way. And if he's escaped that without any wing damage, that's a miracle. The only good thing for him is he's going to have to make a pit stop very, very soon anyway.
Yeah, not the best. Not the best of situations here for Ben Scott. I think you might just have a little bit of wing damage, a little bit of understeer heading through turn 12 there. But I think he might just be fine as he winds it through the penultimate corner and on to the pit straight. But just looking up at the front, ERS Major isn't really catching energetics. 10-lap fresher tires for ERS Major. Only caught a few tenths of a second since the rain has begun to fall on us here in Portugal. So energetics still keeping up the pace and looking pretty decent to keep this result depending on when the rain does indeed come
Marcy's
down.
out. And if that's a safety car, oh my word. And it is a safety car.
It's a safety car. Ooh, what do you do? Ooh, I think you have to pit for inters here.
You've got to go inters, because if you stay out and wait 3 laps and then go inters, it'll be inters by that point anyway. You have lost everything. But it's stopped. This has saved energetics from Major's assault, hasn't it?
It's saved Jamie as well, because Jamie's now going to be closer to the rest of the pack with no penalties, having yet to stop so far. Harry's going to get brought back into this. He's going to be within penalty range of the top 3 as well. Ben Scott now could make up quite a few positions. People behind him have penalties. 4 people in front of him have penalties. So I think this was pretty good for those few drivers without the penalties. Energetics in, Major in. Ben Scott with 3-second time penalty under the safety car. Let's go to Recon in, Harry in, Jeremy in. Yeah, I think everyone is going to be in here. This also saved Alex Lilliart from those hard tires in the rain.
Yep, Alex Lilliart didn't have any pace at all, really, it felt like, on those hards. Has managed to take them all the way to the rain, and we've got a... he's going to capitalise on that. He's going to take P6 overall, which is where he was anyway. So, energetics. It's a difficult situation, because energetics, you can arguably say, based on everything we've seen so far today, qualifying included, energetics is slower than everyone behind him down to, well, at least the first 3. And then Axel, Joseph, Ben Scott, albeit in 8th, 9th, and 10th, they're probably quicker than him as well. Slumpcon in P7 too. There's a lot of drivers behind energetics here who are quicker than him. So I think this is really quite finely poised.
But the conditions could also help energetics. He was pretty decent in the rain in France, if I remember correctly, obviously going back dry. Really switched up the results of that race. Joseph would have been on for a win if it stayed wet. Now it's gone wet late here in Portugal, but down in P9 with a 3-second time penalty, not exactly helping his cause there. But yeah, energetics, he could, what's it called? He could be on for a good result here if he's able just to keep, position on track, especially to ERS Major, Ghost Recon, not so much to Harry F or Jamie, because, well, obviously no 3-second time penalties for the Alpine or the McLaren driver, but we will take a very quick look at the penalties right now. Energetics, Major, Ghost Recon, all with 3. Alex, Slumpcon, Axel, Joseph, Ben Scott, Swip, all with 3, and then Ibo with none. Emperor, the only driver with more than 3 seconds, and then Bellon, who just picked up a drive-through a little bit earlier on, he'll have to wait until the safety car is into the pit lane to serve that drive-through. So double trouble really for Bellon.
Yeah, I think this race is very much written off for him unless we see a situation, the reverse of France, where it goes back to dries in the last few laps. And what a treat that would be, because Energetics, he was the hunter last week. He could be the hunted this week if we see a situation like that, but I'm talking something up that probably will not happen. I want to give a shout out for Jess. I think this is the third race in a row she's avoided getting any penalties. So I think she was one of only 2 drivers at Imola, possibly one of one, to not get penalties. And in France, she did very well as well. So Jess has turned herself into a bit of a maestro for not when it comes to not getting penalties. And she's going to, with this safety car, is going to bring her right back into play with only 14 laps to go. The safety car were to come in this one. I'm not sure it will because of how far adrift Bellon is. And don't tell me Bellon is going to try service drive-through. He's going to try service drive-through. That won't work. But
unless he wants to gamble on dries, maybe.
I mean, visibly the track is not wet enough for enters yet. We've not had that DRS disabled message, but then the safety car probably would have eliminated that getting shown to us. And is Bellon on inters still? I think he is. And he is. Yes, yep. we got Swip though on fresh medium. That's a bold call. We've got
Ibo who's just spun
18 lap old medium. But we're going to get another lap under the safety car, which doesn't help Swip. If I was Swip, knowing that Bellon's all the way back there and he's going to force safety car to stay out another lap, I would come in, put the inters on, and get minimise the pain of that decision that he's made, unless it is going to dry up again, and that's what Swip is thinking. We don't know, which is the fun of it. I'd like to know the weather forecast, but also that does take the element of surprise out of these races. So everyone in the race will know what's happening, what's coming, but we don't.
Yeah, we don't. Only drivers will. But I could probably make a very educated guess that it will probably stay wet here. But obviously, Division 3 had a few switch-ups in the weather, so you never really know. A quick check-in. Ooh, that's interesting. Quick check-in with Division 2 as of right now. Lap 21 out of 33. It's CPI Mr. BT up in the lead, followed by MLE Prime and QRT Timon. But second and third, both with penalties, and Slash and Scream, the 2 drivers currently taking advantage. And
that Funky Chicken for first of the Old Stratters in P9 right now on brand new softs with 3 penalties ahead of him for Jume, Larkin and Kriko. So, and here goes Slash actually passing Timon for P3. Nicely done from Slash. He's had a very good start to the season so far. Ibo and Bellon are still nowhere near catching up to the safety car train. I hope they will by the end of this lap. But as of now, they're some way back.
Yeah, I'm still surprised Swip hasn't hit. Obviously, the penalty to his name not exactly helping him. Neither will those medium tires be. But I think he's just gonna wait until he can't not pit anymore. So once DRS is disabled, I think he'll be into the pit lane. We're just waiting for some odd reason, but a safety car should be in on this lap, just crossing the sector split, but I think Ibo and Bellon will be to the back of the grid, and a safety car will be in on this lap. So Energetics will take control of the field. It will be at his own pace. He can't cross, or he cannot pass the safety car until the safety car is into the pit lane. Energetics taking this quite quickly, around 50, 60 miles an hour as we head through the final sector. Safety car still quite close to them, just waiting and waiting to go. But Energetics, ooh, that was close between the top 2.
Without knowing what this last corner is going to feel like, if I was Energetics, I would not want to go through the last corner, through turn 15, because you've got no idea what it's going to feel like. He's going to go right on the line, which makes himself very predictable to ERS Major. He's gone, and he'll be straight on the ERS, but he's made himself so predictable to Major by going that late. But with no DRS, with everyone having ERS to play with, it's safely done for Energetics. He leads the race, but how brave do any of these guys want to be? Because there's points and prizes to be had for those that want to commit a few extra meters and braking late, and I can see a car round in the background. That's one of the Alfa Romeos. That's Emperor. It's a yellow flag, and he's spun around. I think he hit the apex turn 2. Major pulling out of the slipstream to have a look, and there's a Harry F going up the inside very late on the Ghost Recon. Cuts the corner, gets a penalty, has awful traction, and Alex Lilliard is he going to sneak through here through turn 7? That is not a place to overtake. Hardly lift off there, even in the rain. But Harry F hangs on to that one, but with a 3-second penalty that could have just cost him victory in this race. We've got a Ferrari and a McLaren trading place. That's Joseph getting past Jamie up into P9 now. Jamie in P10. The two McLarens now the first drivers without penalties in this race. But it is Energetics Packer who leads after one lap of green flag racing.
Yeah, a good restart here for Energetics. Hasn't lost any positions. ERS Major still right on the back of that Red Bull with Harry F's penalty and that mistake down at the hairpin. That's that's kind of put Jamie and Jess out of win contention here as of right now on lap 22 as we cross the line here with the leaders. ERS Major close, but not quite close enough. Energetics burning his ERS, so is ERS Major, Ghost Recon, Harry F, everybody on the ERS button. But the top three have kind of broken away after that mistake from Harry F. But Energetics leads and is currently on for the win of the race, even with that penalty. Slump Khan makes his way past Axel there at turn 1. Axel looks up the inside of turn 3, but not quite close enough is the Williams.
And Ben Scott's going to try and pull a move on Axel into turn 4 there, sorry. And Joseph's just watching this, thinking, can you crash please and give me a free place? Ben Scott is watching now as Alex sends it very deep, very late. That was ill-advised from Axel. That's one of the most awful overtake attempts I've ever seen. And I saw Jules Bream trying to overtake turn 3 at Austria in D1 last season. He tried to send it on 2 cars there into turn 4. Ended up, luckily, for everyone else, he was the one that spun around. Joseph forced off the track by SlumpCon. Gets a 3-second penalty for that in the process. And they're still banging wheels as they go down the hill through turn 9 up towards 10 and 11. And Ben Scott's disconnected.
I think.
Yeah, Ben Scott's got the red cross above him. He's glitching across the track. He has left the session now. So Joseph's going to take P6. SlumpCon's going to take P7. And, that attempted overtake by Axel, all I can describe it as, was diabolical. It was absolutely shocking from Axel that he thought that was ever going to work. And said, luckily, he took himself out in the process and not anybody else.
Another comparison to the overtake, Ariel Nolan last season on, I think it was, I can't remember who the other driver was, but I, being the second driver in the attempted overtaking, did not get a nice feeling at the back of my car in that moment there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Axel getting spun around. Energetics with a little bit of a mistake.
He was very deep in turn 3 and then had a mistake in turn 4 and ran very wide, probably got a warning. And you can see, I think he's just making a couple of mistakes now, a little bit of pressure on our Racing Championship leader, Major, hanging very close. And he just looks more confident. He's getting more out of his car than Energetics is right now.
Yeah, ERS Major looking stronger as of right now. Ghost Recon still waiting in the wings for anything to happen between these top two, but it's going to be so very difficult to overtake. It's going to be harder to follow through these corners as Energetics quite wide there through turns 10 and 11. ERS Major able to close up the gap through that double apex right-hander, but Energetics, any mistake here could lead ERS Major to an overtake, but it's going to be harder to follow through the corners, through the technical middle sector, and it's also going to be much harder to overtake, especially with no OPDRS here in Portugal, as my deltas have just disappeared.
I'm in exactly the same position because Ben Scott rejoined. I'm not too sure, but probably because he got into his car. Actually, it'll be because Ben Scott got into his car. Energetics though had a very good exit out of turn 14 through 15, which just saved his bacon a little bit from Major. But Major just seems much more aggressive turning in. Penalty for Recon in P3, and again Energetics goes deep into turn 3. Let's have another look at, remind ourselves of the penalty situation now. Recon has 6, and Joseph and SlumpCon are battling away into turn 3. Joseph's got another penalty from battling with a Haas. That's his third of the race. And where is SlumpCon? SlumpCon's trying to tuck back underneath him. He's going to get a slipstream here, and SlumpCon, I think, is going to pull this move off into the braking zone of turn 5. He doesn't brake too late. He gives Joseph enough room. Tries to run him a little bit wide on the exit, but I think Joseph As you know, it's Slumpcon that's come away from that with the position. He was ahead on penalties anyway, but now he's got track position as well. But back ahead, 4/10 per second still. Energetics looks the shakier car, the more nervous car right now. Major's hounding him for any opportunity, and a penalty here, a stray warning in this corner or that corner, could cost everything. Energetics goes very deep again into turn 13. Could this be Major's chance? Energetic's going to be very tight through turn 14. That's going to compromise him all the way through the last corner. Major's going to cut underneath, get a straighter exit, a quicker exit, and he's as close as he could possibly hope to be now coming through turn 15 as it drops down the hill. It's less than 2/10 per second. Erzon overtaking action. And we've got some slipstream as well for Elias Major. If he can't make the move here, when is he going to make the move? He's got using everything to try and get past Energetic. Energetic covers the inside line. He's going to take a tighter line through turn 1. That could cost him a little bit. But is Major going to send into turn 3? He nearly runs into the back of Energetics, who this time doesn't go deep through turn 3. But again, he's got a tighter line through 4. That gives Major the straighter, quicker run towards 5. And I think unless Major wants to absolutely send this Axel style, and he is going to send it on the inside, and Energetics left him the space, and he fights it back, but Major's just happy to run him out of road, and Major's got that move done, and Energetics has a big slide on the exit, and that could put Ghost Recon through as well. Ghost Recon hitting the back of Energetics through turn 6, then comes 7 and 8, Energetics just needs to keep his head a little bit and not cost himself another position, because remember, Ghost Recon has that extra penalty. But that was cracking stuff from Major. He played Energetics beautifully through that complex of corners, and he came away with the lead of the race.
Yeah, just in behind there, P5 and P6, swapping of the two Haas cars there. Slumpcon making his way past Alex Lilliard just through turn 8. Ben Scott just in behind them, trying to make his way through the two Haas's, but also Harry F is caught on to the battle for the win here, the train for the win that is. Harry, Energetics, Major, all equal on penalties. Ghost Recon with that extra 3 seconds. So if Energetics was to fall behind Ghost Recon there, that could have been absolutely detrimental to his race, and I don't think he would have ever really had another shot at winning this race. But now Energetics with more ERS. ERS Major only on 25. Energetics just around double that amount. He could have another good shot at winning this race if he is able to get ERS Major to drain his battery storage, and Energetics is able to save some. This could be could be his only opportunity to win this race, as we're on lap 26 now of 33.
I think Energetics can have to keep everything for one shot and make the most of that one shot. I'll tell you what though, Harry F has snuck stealthily into this battle because he's now less than a second off the back of Ghost Recon. So Harry F all by himself for a little while. He's now joining the back of this parade and to see if he can't get in on the action. Because remember, Harry F was the last of these lot to get a penalty. He was in a very good position where he could have, potentially should have won this race if he could have avoided that penalty. But as it is, he's just going to have to watch and hope for some kind of mistake. But 0.8 per second now for Major over Energetics. He's keeping a bigger lead, really, you have to say, than Energetics was to him. And I dare say we might see another penalty slip in for this front four, and if there is, that will be absolutely vital in the absolute outcome. Alex Lilliard is causing a little bit of madness behind him because he's keeping Ben Scott and Joseph, two of the quickest drivers in the division, very choked up, and there's a Slumpcon is round on the exit of turn 13, and that nearly put Ben Scott off because Ben Scott had a big wobble as well in the same traction zone. And so Alex Lilliard now flying the flag for Haas. He's up into 5th, albeit 10 seconds off the leading quartet, but looking relatively comfortable right now.
Yeah, I'd say Alex Lilliard looking on for a pretty decent result. Obviously, Jamie and Jess are quite close, but I don't think Jess will be too close to or would be too far to worry about. As Emperor Rub picks up, I think that's his 12 second of penalties in this race. Now Alex Lilliard getting all out of shape, and Ben Scott literally pushing him through turn 4. Joseph right on the back of the Alpine as well. Ben Scott looking to the outside. Alex Lilliard's going to take the defensive line into turn number 5 here. Gets the better run through the apex, but Ben Scott is able to get the switch back, and now it's going to be side by side as we head through turn 6 and now down towards turn 7. Alex on the inside, Ben Scott around the outside as we head up towards turn 8. Alex Lilliard breaks a little bit deeper, goes on to the racing line, but Ben Scott gets the switch back once again and does Alex Lilliard through turn 8 there as we have a yellow flag in sector 1, but Joseph around the outside of turn 11 down the inside of Alex Lilliard, and Alex Lilliard loses 2 positions there in 1 lap.
Yeah, I think Alex was punching above his weight a little bit with how he found himself into that position, how Ben Scott and Joseph, their misadventures had ended down as low as they were. But they've had a good recovery drive this race. Joseph, though, is going to need a lot more pace if he's going to avoid losing more positions to penalties. He's got 9 seconds more than anyone in the field apart from Emperor. But just as that battle was brewing, a Ghost Recon tried to have a go at Energetics into turn 5, and very costly, nearly took the pair of them out and allowed Harry through. As it was, Ghost Recon was able to just about avoid a collision, but that was a very late and brave dive on Energetics, who the corner before had run very wide on the exit of 4. And I am intrigued. I'm going to have a quick look at the warning situation. Energetics, 2 warnings since his first penalty. Ghost Recon has only just picked up a penalty. Major has picked up 2 warnings. So Major and Energetics both a warning away from another penalty. Penalty for Slumpcon. He's in P8. That will help Joseph out no end. So that saves Joseph 1 position. But he's going to need some more to stay ahead of Jess. And we've got Williams rounds. That's Axel just letting everybody through. He's on dry tyres. He's on dry tyres. And Alex Liart's got another penalty. That's also good news for Joseph. Both Hasses picking up a penalty this lap, and it's going to help Joseph towards staying in that P6, but he needs some more pace for the time being. But why on earth is Axel on mediums? He's being an absolute menace to the lobby there, getting in everyone's way, causing all sorts of distractions. But he is in last place in a lap down.
I think declaring war on those styrofoam boards there around the side of the track and doing a few donuts in the gravel trap, but we will no longer pay attention to them as Joseph, the 2 Hasses picking up penalties. Joseph decides to join them decides to join them in their penalty, gaining trip. I guess that's the way I would describe it. Not entirely sure how to describes that as Axel picks up a 3-second time penalty, 10-second time penalty. Never mind me. ERS Major, though, up at the front of this race. After making his way past Energetics, he's looked very strong. I don't know if it's Energetic just making mistakes, because he still has 73% ERS and is not really using it. A little bit slidey on the traction out of turn 5 there, and Energetics losing time. Ghost Recon not making up too much time, either 6/10 in or 8/10 in behind Energetics through the middle sector here. He's following a lot closer to Energetics than Energetics is to ERS Major, but I don't think Energetics really has the pace for this one. So as long as ERS Major can keep it on the circuit, no more penalty or no more warnings for him. I think he's going to be on for this race. When is Ben Scott? I think that was just picked up a 3-second time penalty.
Yep, Ben Scott second of the race. He's now very much alone, 11 seconds off the back of his teammate Harry F, and Joseph behind him, 2.4 seconds, but with an extra 6 seconds of penalties. So no real threat to any of these guys, it looks like. The really interesting one, actually, is Jamie. Jamie is 6 seconds off Slumpcon, who has 6 seconds of penalties, but Jamie is very close to being able to gain 3 places here. He could yet finish P6. He's behind the 2 Hasses. Definitely will get Alex Liart and will get Joseph. But Slumpcon, very nip and tuck as to whether he's going to get that place right now. He needs a couple more tenths of pace. Jess is looking in a good position as well to gain at least 1 place from Alex Liart. It would be a good finish for her. She can get P9, some decent points for her championship tally. But have a look at this. Look how close Energetics is to Joseph. 4 tenths per second as it was through turn 5. And then Energetics had a bit of a moment on traction. And the gap just slipped again. But I don't think this race is absolutely over yet. Major must have made some kind of mistake in the first few corners, because Energetics was very close to the back of the AlphaTauri. It's just drifted again now to 8 tenths per second. But Ghost Recon still sticking very close to Energetics. A mistake for any of them, be it a warning or something more material, will prove very costly. And Harry F is still sticking with these guys as well. These guys on the Inters, their pace has been on an absolutely other plane of existence. But Packer, do you think we might yet see a sneaky late warning penalty or some kind of incident that could sway the result of this podium?
I'm not entirely sure, unless ERS Major makes another mistake on this lap, using his ERS Energetics on the ERS button now as well. 8/10 separates our 2 leaders here on lap number 31 of 33. Only 3 laps to go here in Portugal for what is the 3rd round of Season 7. Energetics a little bit of a slide through the right-hander of turn 2, but it seems ERS Major a lot stronger in the second half of the lap, especially turn 5 onwards. Energetics picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that's really going to hurt him because now Harry F, I think, is going to be making his way past the Red Bull.
Yeah, as it stands,
Unless he
Harry
has
F,
another penalty.
I think Harry F will sneak his way into P3. P2 right now. Sorry, Harry F on course for bringing home Alpine's first podium of the season with their cracking lineup in terms of real pace, but just not come for them in the race so far. But very much in a position to do so now. 2.2 is the gap between Harry F and Energetic, so he can afford to lose 8/10 and still be on course for that penalty. That second place. He just needs to avoid a penalty in the last couple of laps, and there was a warning there. I was on board with him through turn 11. That will 100% have been a warning for Harry F on the exit as he's dropping down the hill. He can't afford any more of that, or he will be consigned to P4. ERS Major, though, playing this race beautifully, and I think he's going to come away with a very, very strong result. Well, let's have a look at positions change. We've not checked in with those all race. ERS Major on pole, looks to have broken the very short-lived Kurz pole position. The only man in the field to currently sit where he started. Pole to first. Energetics is up 9 places. We've got Alfa Romeo round at the back. That will be Bellon. And then Ghost Recon up 1. Harry F down 1. They've swapped positions from their grid, but Harry F will surely take that back on penalties. Ben Scott's up 2, Joseph down 4, Slumpcon, Alex Elliott, Jamie, Jess, Ibo have all made big gains while Swip has fallen down 7 places from P5 on the grid. Gains by default really for the 2 Alfa Romeos. As Slumpcon gets a penalty there, we are seeing him run wide through turn 1 and 2. And then some big qualifiers finishing very low down. Chav from 10th on the grid, he's retired. Bobby F from 8th on the grid, he's retired. Reardon was 13th and retired. Axel was P6 on the grid. He has retired. So quite a shift, really, in terms of a grid to the final result. And it looks like, as Joseph gets yet another penalty, how many is that now? That's his 5th of the race. I think this race, I don't want to call it with still a lap to go, but I think it might just have settled down, and I think we might just be seeing our final result here. Penalty for Alex Elliott. Both Hasses now on 9 seconds. And that is big for the 2 McLarens. Jamie and Jess avoiding penalties very much here, could be gaining some big positions. Joseph on 15, Slumpcon on 9, Alex Elliott on 9. McLaren are on for a big race here.
Yeah, McLaren looking really good. Jess has also picked up the pace in the last few laps, up to P10 and closing in on her teammate there. Was a few seconds behind, but now is close to within half a second as they head on to what would be their final lap. The leader just heading through the first sector and into the middle sector now for ERS Major. 1.5 seconds. He's really opened up that gap to his race rival in Energetics. That second penalty really doing Energetics in here on the final lap here in Portugal. Ghost Recon P3 will take home P4. With the penalty situation as of right now. Harry F just doesn't, as long as he doesn't go off track, I think he will be fine. Bellon just separating P3 and P4 here, but let's go back to the McLarens and the Hasses. No swaps of positions quite yet, but the leaders are now heading into the final sector.
They are indeed, and it's been a peerless race from ERS Major. He's not really put a foot wrong, has he? He's done everything that's needed to, even when Energetics looked to have stolen the win with that safety car that was fortuitously timed, and his strategy as well. Major made the move when he needed to make it. He's pulled the gap to 2.3 seconds in the end. Joseph gets a 6th penalty on the last lap, befitting of his race so far, but it's going to be ERS Major who does win round 3, and we have our second winner of the season. It's ERS Major from 2nd last week. He's 1st this week. Energetics slides across the line, ends up taking 2nd just by 1/10 of a second. On track at least, but it's Harry F who jumps into P2 on penalties by virtue of having just the 1 to his name. Energetics 3rd, Ghost Recon is in 4th. Alpine of Ben Scott is in 5th, and finally Alpine have some good solid points on the board. Joseph crosses line in 6th, but he's going to jump down behind Slumpcon, who is in P7, and then it's going to be the 2 McLarens. Jamie is ahead of Alex Elliott across the line. This could be 6th and 7th for McLaren. Great result for them. Slumpcon is in 8th, ahead of both Hasses and the Ferrari of Joseph as well, who are in 8th, 9th and 10th. Immos is 11th. He gets 2 points. Swip from 5th on the grid is only going to get 12th and 1 point. And then it's going to be the 2 Alfa Romeos in 13th and 14th. Bellon and Emperor, or Emperor and Bellon, I should say, are going to get 13th and 14th. And there we are across the line into the car park of carnage that sits on the starting grid. But Packer, how would you summarise that one? Energetics gets drive today, but for me, ERS Major pole and win didn't really do anything wrong, did he? And he played that race perfectly, even when it looked like he'd lost it.
Yeah, I think ERS Major. One of the better drives we've seen this season. Was able to put the strategy into his hands. Started on pole position. Was able to keep it throughout as well. Pace on the two stop worked almost perfectly for him. Got the race win. Harry F finishing second. No penalty, or well, that one penalty to his name didn't end up really costing him any positions. And then Energetics, a good drive overall on the alternate strategy. Just didn't quite have the pace to stay with ERS Major, and then obviously the two pens didn't really help him either way. But ERS Major, mirroring Energetics last week, win in fastest lap for the British driver.
Yep, perfect haul of 26 points for ERS Major, so that puts him on to 44 points and very comfortably to second in the championship. Energetics moves from 51 points to 69 points, so he maintains a 25-point lead going into next week at Austria. But let's revisit those results. As you say, Major wins from pole. Harry F is in second, Energetics third, Ghost Recon fourth, Ben Scott is in fifth. Two McLarens of Jamie and Jess get a good haul of points in sixth and seventh. Slumpcon is in eighth from ninth on the grid. He was second in the championship going into this race, so he'll be a little disappointed. Joseph was second on the grid going into the race. He ends up finishing in P9. Alex Liart threatened a good result with his hard to into strategy, but he's in 10th, and then Ibo and Swip round out the points with Emperor and Bell on your other two finishes. And I'm delighted to say we are joined in the party by our first and third. We've got Energetics and ERS Major with us, and we'll start with the race winner.
Just before you start, I'm very sorry, but I have to get going. So I wish you all the luck and congratulations to the two podium finishers in the party as well. Very sorry, but I will be having to make my leave now.
Absolutely no worries. We look forward to having Packer back next week in the com box. Thank you for joining us as always. Always a pleasure. But yeah, we will go on to our race winner, ERS Major. And all I've got to say, really, after that race, ERS Major, is congratulations. That was a cracking race. And I don't think too much went wrong from your point of view, but talk us through it all the same.
No, it wasn't too bad. I felt pretty comfortable throughout. The only issue was when it went wet. I knew it was going to rain. I was hoping for a safety car because Energetics would have just pulled away. But that was ideal. The only I hope it's not like a nag or anything, but they need to fix when you're lapping someone from the pit lane, they don't ghost, and that's why Energetics closed up around about 3 laps to go, is because I think it was Williams didn't ghost coming out the pit box, so I had to kind of go off track. But other than that, yeah, it was fine.
That's Codemasters at its finest. As you said, though, you did nearly went against you when the wet weather came. Did you? Obviously, you would have seen in qualifying the rain was coming around about 15 minutes, half an hour in the race. Did you ever have any thoughts of qualifying on mediums and trying to go long and just make it a medium into race?
That was the plan. I think I was around about 5th on mediums, but I thought I'll just do what everyone else is going to do, soft to mediums anyway, and hope for a safe. I was guaranteed a safety car at some point, so it paid off.
It was a replica of D1 in many ways when the rain came, that it brought all of the old stratas very much into play. Energetics, I mean no disrespect with of course in the party, but wasn't really too competitive in that race until the rain came, and then it played right into his lap. But I have to say, were you committed to getting that overtake done, Major? Were you determined that was going to happen, or were you at that point thinking I might have to settle for P2 here?
It was kind of like I knew which corner I was going to do it at because I could see the way he was turning in. He was going slightly wide to sweep into the corner, so I thought, this is the last chance I'm going to get to go down the inside. So I got into the slipstream, pulled out, and I broke slightly later. I probably could have left more room, but I thought, it sounds bad, but I was in front, so I thought if I just move over a little, give him a little love tap, then the position's mine. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
I think it was all's fair in love and war. I think it came off very nicely. I mean, there's plenty of space on the exit of the track there, so I think you're well within your rights if you feel you've got the position to run the other car out of road, as long as you're not too forceful. Austria next week. How are you feeling about that? Because of course you've now got second place last week, first place this week, two top twos in your only two races so far. Do you think you're in a position to challenge the other man in the party right now for the championship?
Not at Austria. That's a ERS burner, and I do not conserve that. So it's a no from me.
It's quite ironic because as Energetics is very much an ERS conserver. He's
Exactly.
very good at keeping hold of his ERS, as we saw last week. But congratulations again. Thank you for joining us in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Good commentary as always.
Thank you. And we turn now to the second place man and our championship leader, still with a 25-point lead. It's the NL Energetics. How are you? And congratulations on P2. Very nearly a win, of course. Talk us through that one from your side of things.
Yeah, the start was pretty chaotic because I went wide because everyone was spinning on the inside and got 2 warnings straight away. So I was surprised I got a penalty in lap 2. But after that, I was trying just to get my mediums till the rain, just like last week, and just stay out of the trouble. And that's what I tried to do this season. Just stay out of trouble and drive my own race. But when the rain came, I thought, okay, now a safety car will be helpful, and it came, obviously. And then at the safety car race, I tried to go very late, just to get a much down a low speed. I think you say that like that. So Major couldn't have a go on me, but I knew that I was slow in the rain, and I knew he was coming. Yeah, he gave me a laugh tap in that corner, but at that point I thought, okay, let's give up the position and try and re-overtake him, but I am shite in the rain.
Oh, I think you. I mean, considering where you were in qualifying, I think you've got the max amount of that race you could have gone for. I think your championship lead is still very much intact. It was 25 points before the race. It is still 25 points. So you've really maximised, considering you were 10th on the grid, you've come away with a 25-point lead still and a P2. I think it's been an absolutely amazing result for you. Were you feeling like you could win that race even early on? Were you thinking, if I just stay out of trouble, are you thinking I can win this race? Was that not in your thought process?
No, not at all. I was just trying I was like 8 seconds behind after the start because it was a total mayhem. I got a legal overtake of Jeff as well, so I needed to slow down to not get a penalty of that. So no, after the rain, after I know that the rain would fall in the race, I was like, shit. Okay, it's gonna be tough.
I think when you're in your position, I think that they've always got to play the percentage game. You've always got to maximise the number of points you take. You knew where to pick your battles in that race. I think you have done all season so far. I think you've been a mighty impressive driver to commentate on. Austria next week. Major's not too confident, but how are you feeling for that one?
My confidence is very high because it's my best, one of my best tracks, and I really love it.
Well, I don't think we could have more opposite feelings from our top two there.
So
if you come, if you're in it for the win and you come away with 3 wins or even 3 wins and a second place from the first 4 races, I think that sends a real signal to the rest of the division that you're up for a title. But I dare say, from what I've seen this season, which is all of it, I dare say that you two may be making a lot of visits into the post-race interviews. I think very much we could have our title battle right here between you two. I don't think anyone has shown the consistency this season that you two have. Drivers have threatened Joseph, Ben Scott, Harry. They've all had moments and glimmers of promise, but you two have really shone through. So I dare say we'll see a lot of you this season.
Don't forget Akon, my main rival. He is quick as well when he races, but yeah, he never raced. So yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining, and I'm sure I will be talking to both of you again next week, no matter what ERS Major tells us about his feelings of Austria. Anything can happen at that track, and I'm sure it will. So we'll leave the interviews there, and thank you both very much for joining us, and thank you everyone who's tuned in and will tune in, who hasn't tuned in yet but will in the week ahead. It was a great race, and thank you to Packer for joining me, who's had to shoot off, but that's round 3. Division 5, and if you catch us here again same time next week, we'll be going around for Austria for 36 laps of the Spielberg circuit, the Red Bull Ring. Until then, thank you for joining us, and goodbye.